All right, I gave in, I bought it. I didn't want this palette so badly, but I could not get over the color story. I am talking about the Charlotte Tilbury holiday release. It's a limited edition palette called the Smoky Eyes Are Forever palette. It's the Instant Eye palette of the year. She releases one of these every year around the holidays with these 12 shades. I've been dying to try the Charlotte Tilbury eyeshadow formula. And this color story was the first one I've seen from her that didn't feel so monochromatic and kind of boring, frankly. So this one felt a little more interesting to me. So very quickly, let me show you the packaging before we jump into swatches and the two looks, and then my final thoughts at the end of the video. So the exterior packaging that this comes in is really beautiful, very festive. The top lays out kind of the three different color stories that are included here, and then the back just has the ingredients. The packaging is pretty standard black lacquer packaging. It has the little logo down here and the radiating kind of ridges all around. And I've heard a lot of thoughts about this packaging from people because I've watched many reviews. This is not like going in blind, have no idea what this palette is like, because I've watched other people review this. And a lot of people are complaining that this packaging is boring. And although I agree, I also think it's just very classic. I mean, yeah, it's not the most exciting thing to look at, but I kind of like that because it looks like a classic, beautiful, timeless piece in my collection. And actually, it looks as if it's plain black lacquer packaging, but I'll insert a video here, just a quick clip. You can actually see there are rainbow glitters, like reflective glitters in the black lacquer. And I think it's kind of hard to see when you're just looking at it like head on, but if you tilt it like on its side and the light hits it just right, you can see quite a bit of reflection, and I think it's really beautiful. The back of the palette has a sticker that explains that each of the little trios has 3 shades, and they're labeled 1, 2, 3, and it kind of describes how they recommend using it. It's not how I'm using it for my looks, but that's just personal preference. But then when you open it up, you can see that each of these are laid out in a 1, 2, 3 pattern. So this is the inside of the palette. I really love this because you have good strategic mattes, in my opinion, to pair with the shimmers that are included. So you have a matte cream that really has like a tiny bit of a pink undertone as well, a matte black and a matte brown, which I love. And then there are 2 kind of good transition mattes in here as well, a warm tone and more of a neutral leaning cool tone. So I appreciate that variety. And I was just so drawn in by this. I can't explain it. I love it. I love it still. I really think it's so beautiful. And I am gonna go ahead now and roll this footage of the swatches so you can really see kind of the texture in all of these. They are such gorgeous, beautiful shades in my opinion. Now, this palette is not cheap. It is a hefty $75. Now, although that's a lot of money, it is still a lot more bang for your buck than getting a quad from Charlotte Tilbury. So for me, as someone who has been wanting to try her formulas for a long time, but always felt like the quads were a little too monochromatic for me to want to pay quite as much money as they cost. I think they're $58 for 4 shades. So when I saw this, I liked the color story. Even though it's $75, to me, it is money well spent because not only do I have this gorgeous palette, but I'm also getting to try a formula from a brand I've never used before. This is my first Charlotte Tilbury product ever. I'm gonna save kind of my concrete thoughts for this until after I roll the footage for you of the 2 eye looks I'm doing. So the first eye look is the one that's on my eyes right now, and then the second one is using more of the green tones in the palette. I'll pop a photo here as a little sneak peek so you know what the 2 looks are that are coming up. So let's go ahead and look at look number 1. All right, for this look, I wanna do like the warm, toasty, peachy vibes in here. So mostly this Happy Eyes trio, and then I want to test out the black somehow. I think maybe I could do a halo eye. I think that's going to be my best bet on kind of using all of these shades well. So I am going to start out with this center shade number 2 in the Happy Eyes trio, and I'm going to actually use that kind of as my crease color, and I'm going to start building it on the inner and outer corners as well. So this is a shimmer shade. I know not everybody is thrilled with the idea of using shimmers like in the crease, but I have heard, obviously never experienced because this is my first Charlotte Tilbury palette, but I've heard that her shimmers are kind of notoriously good for using in the crease because they have such a refined sheen to them. They're not like ultra glittery or anything, and so they're actually apparently very flattering in the crease, and I'm gonna test that out with you all today. This shade is even more impactful than it looks in the pan. It's pretty deep. So I'm gonna go ahead and connect that inner and outer corner just a little bit in my crease, but just like the tiniest bit. I'm not actually gonna add anything to my brush. I'm basically just gonna like drag from these 2 points where I deposited pigment. You can see there, it just pulls across a little bit to connect those 2 pieces. Yeah, I mean, I agree with people's judgment that these shimmers work well in the crease, or at least this particular shimmer. I'm gonna go ahead and match this side up as well. I'm just gonna go in with that lighter shimmer, the number 1 in the Happy Eyes trio, and I'm gonna put that all over the center of my lid. Got quite a bit of fallout from that. It is a very flaky shade. Okay, and you can see there is not a huge differentiation between those two. So we're gonna have to get creative with this halo eye to get like a good effect here because these shades are relatively similar to each other, but that's okay. I am gonna go ahead and go into Love Eyes, go into shade number 3 here. I'm gonna spray my brush because I know from experience now that this is a pretty crumbly shade. I really want it to just be like the center right along my lash line and my inner corner and brow bone as well. There we go, just that little bit of spotlight right by my eyes is what I love. And then there is with the brow bone and the inner corner. This shade really is something special. It is kind of a transformative shade because it is a little more like lid toppery. So super, super gorgeous and versatile. I'm going to put that first like deeper shimmer shade, the number 2 in Happy Eyes. I'm gonna put that underneath of my eyes very lightly. Okay, I'm really liking this so far. The thing I'm not sure about is that oftentimes tones like this have a tendency to make my eyes almost like recede a little bit into my face. Like they don't, they're not as framed as I'd like them to be. So that'll be fixed a little bit when I have mascara on, but I also think that I can creatively use like the black and the red to kind of frame and shape my eyes a bit more. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use this deep matte as a liner, like all the way across my upper lash line. And then I'm gonna use the black to kind of smoke and blend out that liner into a wing, hopefully. This is my first time trying something like this, so be patient. So going into that matte, like rusty, reddy orange first. I didn't wet my brush, just so you know. This is just going in with it dry. And it's gliding over the top of these shimmers perfectly well. Okay, so you can see already, just having that little extra bit of definition for me makes a really big difference on kind of my face looking like it's coming together. So I am going to switch brushes to another little one like this, and I'm gonna wing out the black and then kind of connect it into maybe like the halfway point so that that black and the orangey red kind of blend together. I am curious how this black will perform as a liner because It wasn't the most pigmented when I swatched it, which is okay because that usually means it's really blendable and beautiful, but as a liner, we'll see. Yeah, I like that. I like the kind of red to black fade. I know you probably can't see it super well. Hopefully you'll be able to see it when I do the footage at the end of this of me in natural light with the finished look, because when I'm looking at it close up right now, it looks really, really nice. I'm gonna do the other eye off camera and I'll put mascara on and then I'll be back to show you the finished look. All right, here is the finished look. Definitely much different than what I had planned in my mind going into this, but sometimes that just happens when you look at the shades versus when you start putting them on your eyes. I'll insert a video clip here as well of this finished look in natural daylight. Sometimes it's just a little easier to see some of the details outside of my studio lighting. And that is it for this look. Okay, so for this look, I'm going to use all three of the shades in that green category here, the Power Eyes trio. So I'm going to use those, and then I'm probably going to end up dipping into some of these deeper colors, maybe two or maybe the pinks. I'm not really sure. So I'm just going to start with shade number 1 from Power Eyes, this matte, and put it in my crease. It's such a beautiful shade because it's green toned, almost even has like a bit of a yellow undertone, but it's definitely still a neutral, you know, like it doesn't look like I'm wearing green eyeshadow yet. And so I think this is a really key shade in the palette because it gives you a wide variety of neutral looks that you can play with. For my personal preference, I don't think I got that matte too high up, but just for the sake of argument, I'm gonna pretend that I wanna go and clean up kind of that edge, and I'm gonna do that using the first shade here from the Love Eyes trio, which on me shows up as like almost a cream. It's a very, very, very pale baby pink. And I'm gonna take it on a fluffy brush so that it doesn't, you know, overpower my face too much and look like a stripe. I do think it lightened things up just a bit. This would also be a beautiful inner corner shade for like an all matte look if you're around my skin tone. I am gonna go into shade number 2 in Confident Eyes, this matte brown, and I'm gonna use it to deepen up the outer corner a little bit before getting into the shimmers. Wow, that is pigmented. I barely had any on my brush and I'm already like a little overboard. I'm gonna have to do some blending here for sure. That turned out so well considering the fact that I put way too much on. There's still a little bit of a weird edge here from where I kind of flicked my brush on accident. That really was my fault. I don't know if I'd be able to fix that. Aside from that, it's blending out perfectly. So this third shade here from Power Eyes, I'm gonna go ahead and just run that along my lower lash line. It is a shimmer, and so buffing it in like this will potentially cause some fallout. That's kind of just the risk I'm willing to take with this because I want that green lower lash line, not a brown. It's really beautiful, and so far no fallout, but I will do just a little blending, and that's when it might happen. Blending a tiny bit to soften that lower lash line. Wow. All right, no fallout, you guys. That's really impressive. I'm gonna go ahead and put the lighter green, so number 2 in Power Eyes, over most of my lid. Yeah, so this is definitely the shade in the palette that is like a green, you know, like definitely a solid, true green, and it is beautiful. Somehow it's like perfectly riding that line between like a grungy and a bright green. It's really interesting. Alrighty, we're gonna try to brighten things up just a little bit more. I'm gonna go into the light pink shade here in the Love Eyes, so number 2 in Love Eyes, And I'm gonna put that on the inner half of my lid. And it's pink, but, oh no, it's showing up plenty pink. I was gonna say, on my finger, it didn't look that pink, but it is. It's definitely a pinky shade. And then for my inner corner, I'm gonna do the lighter pink in the Love Eyes trio. So number 3 in Love Eyes. Wow, oh my gosh. A ton of that picked up on my brush. It's very like crumbly. Oh man, I think I have to spray this. Yeah, even with my brush sprayed, I still had a little bit of fallout here, but that shade is really beautiful. I'm gonna go ahead and put on mascara, and then I'll show you this finished look both in this studio lighting as well as natural light, just so you can see how it looks a little bit different kind of in day-to-day wear. All right, so here is the finished look. Alrighty, so I hope you enjoyed those 2 looks. I hope it gave you some ideas of how you might be able to use this palette without adhering to kind of the 1, 2, 3 system that she set up. Now, I just want to wrap up with kind of my final thoughts on this palette. Recapping just a tiny bit of what I said in the beginning of this video, it is a $75 palette for the 12 shades. That is a hefty price tag. However, in my opinion, after using this twice now and swatching and getting a feel for how the whole entire palette performs, I think it's money well spent for me, personally. None of the shades in here are so unique or like such exciting formulas that I think you have to have this palette to get similar looks. That's definitely not the case. However, I love how this palette in particular was curated, and having the chance to try Charlotte Tilbury formulas is worth it to me personally. The balance of mattes and shimmers and light to deep shades, in my opinion, is perfect. You probably noticed in both of the looks that things got pretty dark and smoky pretty quickly. That is kind of the point of this palette, right? It's Smoky Eyes Are Forever is literally the name of the palette. However, I also think that anybody could pick like one shimmer from this palette, put it all over the lids, blend it up into the crease a tiny bit, and have a really nice, airy, everyday, glowy, beautiful look. So I think it's a very versatile palette in that way. I do think some of the textures of a few of these shades, like let me look here. This lightest one here, this light shimmer, and this lighter of the Happy Eyes grouping here, these 2 in particular are really have a lot of fallout. And so just be cautious of those. If I were you, I'd spray my brush as I did, because those are a little more crumbly, but they're still somehow smooth and beautiful on the eyes. I really, frankly, could not be happier. I absolutely love this palette so much. I am glad that I have it. I can't explain it, guys. I can't explain it. Is this the most innovative or exciting color story ever? Absolutely not. I mean, like, it is not that exciting, but something about something about the combination here, the brown and black matte, the utility of the mattes really drew me in. I think it's a perfectly curated set of matte shadows, and then having all of these absolutely stunning, gorgeous shimmers to put all over my eyelids. I can't wait. I can't wait to keep using this. Bottom line, very happy with my purchase, but I definitely don't think this is a necessity for anyone, really. Although it is a very utilitarian palette that also has a lot of beauty behind it and feels very luxurious to own and use. I would love to hear in the comments below, tell me some looks you want to see with this. This is definitely not the last time this palette is going to feature on my channel, so let me know. That is it for me today. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought of the 2 looks and what other looks you would like to see with this palette. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.